So remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notification up every time I upload. So I'm going to give you 2 episodes in one short episode and another longer episode that I pre-recorded. I want to talk about Tylee Daybell's Autopsy. I was watching Court TV this morning, and there was this man on it saying that it doesn't usually take this long to release autopsy results. And I don't know what's going to be revealed or not revealed during the autopsy, but I'm just thinking to myself, she's been dead for quite some time, and all they have is bones and fragments to examine. So I don't believe that they're going to be able to determine her exact cause of death. The problem with Tylee Daybell's death is that if she had been given an autopsy soon after her death, then they would have been able to determine what her cause of death is. But because she's been in the ground or wherever she is, because they have really nothing to work with apart from bones and fragments, determining the cause of her death is going to be very, very difficult as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get any information, any in-depth information about how she died. Personally speaking, I believe that Tylee Daybell was murdered. That's my personal opinion. I'm 100% sure that Charles Vallow was murdered, and I'm 99.9% sure that Tylee Daybell was murdered. But she could have been murdered in a number of ways. He could have put something in her food or in her drink that can't be detected in an autopsy. She could have been smothered. She could have been strangled. She could have been, there's a number of ways that she could have died. Or been murdered. And I'm not sure if the autopsy results, because of the fact that, they're only looking at bones and fragments at this point, I'm not sure if the autopsy results are going to be able to determine the cause of her death, which will mean that he will just get away with it if that's the case. I'm not saying that they're not going to reveal anything about her death in terms of what actually happened, because I'm not an autopsy expert. But I am definitely concerned that they're not going to be able to get the exact cause of her death by looking at her bones and fragments. If they had examined her body not long after she died and they had a full live body to work with, when I say a live body, I don't mean a body that's alive, but I mean a body that had the head, the neck, the arms, if they had her whole body to work with soon after she died, then they would more likely be able to determine her cause of death. I used to watch Forensic Files, and I know of a case where this girl poisoned her father, and the drug she gave him could not be detected at all. It was a kind of drug that you use. It was something that she used that actually is untraceable. So you don't know. Someone can put something in your food or put something in your drink, and you might not necessarily be able to trace it, with any kind of examination. So my concern is, and I already feel that Lori Vallow has gotten away with murdering her husband. And I feel that they're both getting away with a lot, but particularly her. My feeling is that, I just hope that they can glean something, but I'm not sure that they will be able to glean anything from her death when the autopsy has taken so long to complete. And because now they don't even have anything but bones and fragments to work with. So I'm concerned that the autopsy is not going to be able to determine her cause of death, or it will just be ruled as natural causes because they have nothing else to go on. That's my concern. Anyway, Lori Vallow gathering the evidence. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Now, I want to give you a rough timeline, not necessarily specific dates, because that's for a lawyer or an attorney. But within this timeline, I'm going to be showing you what I think was happening and how, based on this, the police should have enough evidence to upgrade the charges for Lori and Chad. Lori Vallow has gotten away with so much. It is painful how much this woman has gotten away with. She has gotten away with so much. So, part one, the storage locker. So, the kids were last seen in September 2019. I think the kids had expired by late September, early October 2019. That's my belief. On the 1st of October 2019, Lori Vallow rented out a storage unit at Self Storage Plus in Rexburg, Idaho, where she discarded much of her children's belongings, which gives me the chills. I'm not going to go into the details of the belongings that she discarded because I don't think that's important. But what's important is that by October the 1st, the kids were no longer here. They were no longer on this planet. And she's discarding their belongings at that time in a storage locker. Lori visits the storage facility on several occasions between October and November, sometimes with her brother Alex and other times with the man I believe to be Chad Daybell. So that places all three players not at the scene of the crime, but it proves that all three are involved with discarding of the children's belongings, and they could only be doing this for one reason. Because you don't discard children's belongings if they're alive. And it begs the question, why did they not burn or dump the items? That I don't have answers to. But I do know that by October, those kids were no longer on this planet. And during this time, Lori, Chad, and Alex were discarding their items in a storage locker. During this time, there was an attempted hit on Brandon in Arizona. Brandon, the ex-husband of Lori's niece Melanie, he apparently had a large life insurance policy. The person who shot at him was driving a Jeep that was registered to Charles Vallow. Tylee sometimes drove this Jeep, but she had been missing at the time. We now know that she was deceased, more than likely. And Charles Vallow had also been expired for quite a few months. So that leaves us with Lori, Chad, and Alex, the big players. So the kids had been missing at this point, and Lori never reports them missing. She never reports her children as missing. She never reports concern, quite the opposite. And she refuses to answer questions about their whereabouts. This is because she knows they are not on this planet anymore. Before his death, Charles Vallow filed for a divorce. Charles stated that Lori had cleaned out his bank account and threatened to kill him if he got in the way of her mission. He said Lori had claimed that she was a translated being assigned to gather the 144,000 chosen ones for Christ's second coming in July 2020, which is almost upon us. Before his death, Charles Vallow, on at least 2 occasions, tells the police that his wife Lori has lost her mind, that she's threatened him, that he's concerned about her behavior, and that she's cleaned out their bank account. Not long after these reported incidents, Lori's brother Alex claims he kills Charles Vallow in self-defense, which we now know is a complete fabrication. And it didn't seem to click that Lori and her brother had given 2 contradictory statements about this incident, resulting in the death of Charles Vallow. Not to mention the fact that he'd also come to blows with her previous husband, who I think he supposedly tasered. So if you're still with me at this point, we have not long after this 2 missing kids, which Lori either refuses to produce, evades questions about, or lies about their whereabouts. We have Lori's dead husband, Charles Vallow, taken out by her brother with no valid explanation. So, even after the hit on Charles Vallow, even after her children went missing, even after the attempted hit on Melanie's ex-husband, Brandon. She was still sashaying around town, a free woman, and still no one in authority had connected the dots. You have footage of her husband saying that she's gone crazy and taken all his money and threatened him. You have him being knocked off just a short time after. You then have 2 missing kids that she lied repeatedly about, even told Melanie kids to take photos of any kids that looked like JJ if the police kept sniffing around. Not to mention the fact that she also told Melanie Gibbs to lie about the whereabouts of JJ. That alone right there tells you that the kids were already gone. And yet, she was still able to elope to Hawaii and get married on the beach without a care in the world, without anyone holding her accountable. I want to pause here for a moment because Lori's niece Melanie is quickly becoming the Nicole Kessinger of this saga. I've heard other creators say that charges are coming soon for Melanie Pawlowski, but is that just wishful thinking? Lori got away with discarding her husband and discarding her children until the inquiry, and she's still in jail only for very low-level charges. Just 2 charges of desertion and non-support of dependent children. Part 2 is the next section, and it's entitled Tracking a Suspect. So now we have part 2, Tracking a Suspect. So it's quite clear that Alex Cox is the family hitman. I'm just going to be frank. Lori hired her brother to knock off her husband. Lori should have been charged with murder for hire when it comes to Charles Vallow. And like I said, I don't know if Charles Vallow was a great man or not. What I do know is that he was ignored, not taken seriously, and pushed aside. And if the police had done their jobs and Lori and Alex had been charged with conspiracy to commit murder, then maybe the kids would still be alive today. She was able to get away with it time and time again. Now remember, we had 3 people discarding items in a storage locker in October 2019. Lori, her brother Alex, and her husband Chad. And now once again, we have 3 people involved with the bodies, with the deceased bodies of these kids. We have the digital footprint of Alex Cox going from Lori Vallow's house to Chad Daybell's property. We have Chad Daybell on the property claiming to be burning something. We all know what he was doing because there was that text between him and his wife Tammy, who was still alive at that time. And you've got all 3 again. You've got all 3 culminating in the same end. Getting rid of evidence, discarding. You've got all 3 in the same crime. You have Alex Cox, his digital footprint, his phone pings going from his sister's house, Lori Vallow's house, to Chad Daybell's property, spending time there. And that's exactly where the remains of JJ and Tylee were found. And you have the same 3 players who were discarding the children's items in a storage locker in Rexburg, Idaho in October. We have the same 3 players connecting, coming together as we follow and trace and track the digital footprint, the phone pings of Alex Cox. So all 3 of them were involved in this crime. And it doesn't matter if Alex did most of the dirty work. It doesn't matter. The fact is they're all 3 connected once again. They were connected in discarding the item before, and once again, they were connected in getting rid of those bodies. Because there's no way Alex Cox could have gone to that house if Chad Daybell didn't invite him or allow him to be there, or if Chad Daybell wasn't involved somehow. So Lori Vallow, she was really the puppet master. She orchestrated this, and she got the men to do her dirty work. It doesn't seem like she likes to get her hands dirty. But she was the ringleader, she was the puppet master. She was the one in control. This is not a woman that has been forced to do anything. Because even the sister of her ex-husband said that she was talking about getting rid of the children before all of this even transpired. And that she was, her mind was taking a very, very dark turn. So Chad and Alex were involved in doing away with the children. Who did what? I don't think it's really important to go into details, and I'm not going to go into details, of the state of their bodies or what was done to whom, because that's not what I'm interested in. That's not what I do. But you can see, you can connect the dots. All three of these people, Lori, Alex, and Chad, they are all involved in the discarding of these children. So the evidence is there. The evidence is there. Unfortunately, Alex is not here to take his punishment. But the evidence is there. The evidence is all there. They're all linked. They're constantly linked when it comes to discarding these children. And there's no way that Alex would have access to that property without Chad Daybell knowing or without Chad Daybell approving. So all three of them are involved, but I think the one who is the ringleader and the puppet master and the manipulator and the orchestrator, I think it is Lori Vallow. She orchestrated all of this. She had these men circling around the honeypot, and she was just instructed them to do what she wanted. So the fact that there's still to this day hasn't been murder charges just shows you, until then, she's still getting away with what she's done. Because she hasn't even been charged with the murder or conspiring to murder Charles Vallow. And I have no doubt in my mind that the police did not do a proper investigation on that. They let it slide. Charles Vallow was murdered, and the injustice of it is really, really bad. I mean, it's really disheartening. Because if she had gone to prison, if she had been charged and she'd been sentenced for that murder, these kids would still be alive. Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, and Chad Daybell are all involved in the murder of those children. And they should have been charged a long, long time ago. The evidence is all there. It's not hard to find. It's not hard to figure out. I'm not a genius. They should be charged.